and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to FrontPage, only on the AIM network, India's definitive media organization and voice on everything AI and technology. So, this week in technology was less about steady progress and more about everyone slammed the accelerator through the floor. China announced trillion parameter models. Musk put AI in space because, of course, he did. India, of course, became an engineering superpower, and platforms are now deleting content like it's a fire drill. Here are the headlines. China has announced 5 frontier models in a single week, including Moonshot's trillion parameter Kimi K2.5 and Alibaba's Qwen 3.5. This massive open weight tsunami signals a shift from chatbots to worker models designed for massive agentic scale. Elon Musk has officially merged xAI and SpaceX into a $1.25 trillion vertical stack. The move aims to launch solar-powered orbital data centers by 2026, positioning Musk to own the entire AI infrastructure, from data and chips to, well, the stars. Rolls-Royce CEO Tufan Ergin-Bilgic met Prime Minister Modi to announce that India will host the company's largest global capability center. Moving beyond back office support, the aerospace giant is shifting its core high-value engineering and complex manufacturing to Indian soil. The 3-hour takedown is here. By slashing compliance windows and bypassing the courts, the new IT rules are forcing platforms into a delete-first survival mode. Today, we're unpacking the risk of state overreach, the logistical chaos for tech giants, and what this means for creators silenced without notice. And finally, Oracle NetSuite has launched local data centers in Mumbai and Hyderabad to solve the compliance migraine for Indian founders. By embedding agentic workflows directly into the ERP, they are turning India's complex business chaos into a competitive advantage. Naval Ravikant once said a line that hit the industry like a cold splash of water. He said, all the American AI companies talk about sharing the wealth, but all the top open source models are Chinese, end quote. And this week, that didn't just feel like a guess, it felt more like a prophecy. While the West was busy watching xAI updates and refreshing OpenAI's status page, China released 5 frontier-grade models in a single 7-day window. If you're, of course, a developer, right now, you aren't just keeping up. You're basically trying to stay dry in a rainstorm of code. Let's look at the names so we don't miss the scale of what just has taken place. Kimi K2.5 from Moonshot AI, GLM5 from Zippo AI, Qwen 3.5 from Alibaba, Duabao 2 and Cdance 2.0 from ByteDance, and the M2.5 update from Minimax. 5 major releases, 1 week. In the United States, we measure progress by how human a chatbot kind of feels. But in China, they're measuring it by worker capacity. The pattern here is quite unmistakable. They are shipping open weights that are multimodal by default and remarkably cheap to run. First, let's start with Moonshot's Kimi K2.5. This is a manager and not just a mere chatbot. Imagine you're running a massive logistics company. Most AI today is like having one very smart intern who can answer 1 email at a time. Kimi K2.5 is more like having a swarm of 100 specialized floor managers. One checks the inventory, another tracks the trucks, and of course, a third handles the invoices, all happening simultaneously. Then, of course, Kimi uses a sparse expert architecture with 1 trillion parameters in total. But it only wakes up 32 billion at a time. It's the difference between hiring a specialist for every problem versus trying to find one guy who knows everything about everything. It's moving the goalpost pretty much from the best answer to the best worker. I think we figured that out by now. Then, of course, there's Zippu's GLM5. Zippu is moving the needle from vibe coding, where the computer just guesses the next line, to agentic engineering. We're talking about a model trained on 28.5 trillion pieces of data, my friends. More importantly, it's built to run on domestic Chinese hardware, specifically Huawei Ascend 910C chips. This is a direct response to the Western export controls that we had covered on FrontPage earlier. The goal is a high-functioning system that operates independently of Washington's supply chain. In fact, GLM5 has already cracked a 50 on the intelligence index, outperforming Gemini 3 Pro and GPT 5.2 codecs in administrative and long-horizon agent tasks. Then at number 3 is Alibaba's Qwen 3.5, the big shift, which is native multimodal support. Not an add-on, not a patchwork anymore, built into the next generation Qwen line itself. Reports around the release window pointed to multiple sizes, including 9 billion and 35 billion variants, and Qwen's next architecture direction showing up via developer pull requests and tooling support. The translation to all of that? Qwen is trying to be the default open enterprise workhorse, the model you can ship everywhere, cheaply across stacks. But then, you know the moment, which is the magnum opus story, which is ByteDance. Most people still think of them as the TikTok company. But the reality is that ByteDance is becoming the master of inference economics. With Duobow 2 and Cdance 2.0, they are pushing video generation to a level of physical realism that makes Western versions look like, well, claymation. And because they own the distribution, TikTok and Douyin, they can ship these capabilities to hundreds of millions of users instantly. And of course, finally, let's talk about Minimax. Minimax has been signaling new iterations in its models, lying right in this same launch window. With the market watching for coding-focused improvements, and of course, the meta point is quite simple. China is trying to win by flooding the field, so builders always have a good enough model that is cheap, openish, and fast to ship. Now, of course, consider the physical reality. AI is essentially an industrial process that turns electricity into intelligence. And while the West argues about grid capacity, China is building power at a staggering rate. In 2025 alone, they added 430 gigawatts of solar and wind. To put that in perspective, that is twice Germany's entire power generation capacity. Wow. And that too was added in a single year. China is scaling the manufacturing. It is scaling the power. And of course, the chips at a speed that turns the frontier gap into a memory. It's like everyone is arguing over who has the best car, while China is very busy building a 12-lane highway. And here, of course, as always, is the front page take. So if you're ready for it, here we go. So has China surpassed the United States? If you measure by closed labs and safety papers, maybe not. But if you measure by actually putting top-tier intelligence into the hands of developers for pennies, the answer is getting quite uncomfortable. China isn't just catching up. They are actually now starting to change the rules. They are building a stack that is open enough to spread and fast enough to keep the West in a permanent state of reaction. Very interesting. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. Usually, when a company loses 50% of its founding team in 18 months, you'd assume the HR department is just a room full of people screaming into pillows. But at xAI, Elon Musk calls that increasing velocity. Last week, Musk hit the factory reset button on his AI venture. This isn't just a reorganization clearly, it's a total structural pivot happening at the exact moment his empire is attempting a massive vertical stack, snapping together AI, social distribution, and orbital hardware into one giant $1 trillion machine. First, the facts. This week, two more co-founders, Tony Wu and Jimmy Ba, walked out back to back. Out of the 12 original founders from 2023, only 6 are left. Now, of course, in the Indian startup scene, if something like this had happened, if half your leadership leaves while the CEO is focused on lunar manufacturing, the venture capitalists would be pulling their hair out by now. But Musk's pitch to his staff was quite characteristically straightforward. Speed matters more than status, simple and straight. In his world, the founding phase is a luxury he can no longer afford. He's moving into the execution phase. And if you aren't comfortable moving at the speed of a re-entry vehicle, you're in the wrong building. He's carved xAI into 4 units: Grok, coding; Imagine, which is video; and macro hard, which is digital agents. But here is, well, the intelligent play. Most AI companies today are essentially high-end tenants, which means they build brilliant models, but they have to rent the massive compute power and the data centers from landlords like Microsoft, Google, or Amazon. And of course, as John Oliver once put it, you don't need people's opinion on a fact. Well said, John. And of course, the fact here is that the building your future on someone else's servers is actually a death trap. If the landlord decides to raise the rent, or for that matter, prioritize their own products, the tenant is finished. Musk's move with xAI and SpaceX is about owning the physical foundation itself. Well, formerly X, which is formerly Twitter, as we all know, is the data source. It's the real-time feed of what the world is thinking. Then we talk about xAI, which is the processing unit. SpaceX is the physical hardware. So by merging all of them together, he is not just integrating anymore. What he's trying to do is exit the terrestrial economy entirely, which of course brings us to the money. On the 3rd of Feb, the SpaceX xAI merger valued the combined entity at $1.25 trillion. Wow. Why do this now? Because the SpaceX IPO is reportedly locked for June 2026. They are aiming to raise $50 billion at a $1.5 trillion valuation. To get the market to buy the number, you can't just be a transport company that moves satellites. No, you have to be the infrastructure for the entire next century of compute. And that's where the moon comes in. So let's just forget the romance of Apollo. Musk is looking at the moon as a cold, hard logistics play, which means launching from Earth is a thermodynamics nightmare because of gravity. Launching from the moon is a breeze. So Musk is no longer talking about building self-growing lunar bases to manufacture and launch AI data centers directly into orbit. He is rebranding the moon from a poetic nightlight into a giant rocky server farm that sits outside the reach of Earth's power grids and, conveniently, most of its regulators. But then, of course, there is a massive if. The Imagine wing is currently being hammered by investigators. From 35 US state attorneys general to UK's Ofcom regulators are circling xAI over concerns about non-consensual deepfakes. Musk wants the velocity of a rocket, but you can't exactly outrun the law, right? Can you? When you're leaving a trail of legal debris across 35 different jurisdictions. And here, of course, is the front page take. So let's shift together. The era of the AI startup is over for Musk. The era of the AI sovereign has begun. xAI is being rebuilt for speed. SpaceX is being positioned to own the orbital economy. And the moon is the new Silicon Valley. It's either the most brilliant move in history or a bridge too far. Please do let us know what do you think about this in the comments below. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. 5 seconds. That's all the time it takes for a Rolls-Royce Trent XWB engine to suck in as much air as the volume of a squash court. It's also roughly how long it takes for a global CEO to look at India's demographic dividend and realize that instead of just outsourcing, they can move the literal crown jewels of British engineering to Bengaluru. Welcome to FrontPage. Prime Minister Modi recently sat down with Rolls-Royce CEO Tufan Ergin Bilgik. Usually, these diplomatic dates involve a lot of stiff handshakes and vague promises to, well, cooperate for that matter. But this one actually spit out real numbers. Rolls-Royce signaled a massive pivot, aiming for their Indian Global Capability Centers, also known as GCC, well done, to become their largest hub on the entire planet. The strategy breaks down into three distinct shifts. The hub to rule them all. They plan to expand the India GCC until it dwarfs every other office they have globally. Complex manufacturing. They are moving beyond the digital screen to co-create physical, high-tech components with Indian partners. Then, of course, deep engineering. This focuses on high-value engineering, not just basic maintenance, but the kind of deep product work that keeps a turbine from melting at 30,000 feet. Very important, I think. For decades, if a Western company mentioned a center in India, it was actually code for a glorified help desk. It was the digital equivalent of a broom closet where paperwork went to the processed cheaply. That era has effectively ended. Congratulations. The new conversation focuses on engineering depth and strategic control. Rolls-Royce has already been beefing up its Bengaluru Global Capability and Innovation Center. They aren't just filling spreadsheets there, no. They are supporting civil aerospace and defense functions. Think of it as the difference between hiring someone to wash your car and hiring someone to redesign the thermodynamic cycle of a jet engine. Wow, interesting. CEO Ergin Bilgik is using a very specific phrase, which is home market. That isn't just corporate fluff. It means they're treating India as a primary base of operations rather than a satellite office. This matters because of this. Rolls-Royce deals in high-stakes technology. We all know that. Their work occupies the space where these three worlds collide, which is civil aerospace, the massive engines hanging off the wings of long-haul jets, defense propulsion, the high-performance tech that powers fighter jets and naval ships, then of course power systems, the massive generators keeping hospitals and data centers alive and kicking. When a company like this says high-value engineering, they are talking about intellectual property, which is IP. They are essentially trusting the Indian ecosystem with the secret sauce. Expect three visible changes if this largest hub ambition pans out. Talent density, forget generalists. The demand now shifts to specialized systems, safety, and advanced manufacturing engineers. The kind of people who can do math that would make a calculator, well, pretty much shoot itself in the head. Designed to build node. India transforms into a place where tech is conceived, not just executed. It's about co-development from the first sketch. Then, of course, we have supply chain integration. Complex manufacturing requires an entire neighborhood of specialized suppliers, high-end tooling, and uncompromising quality assurances. And if you're ready, here is the front page take. Rolls-Royce isn't just investing in India. You know what they're doing? They are behaving like a relative who realizes the family home in the village has better Wi-Fi, more talent, and a much faster pace of growth than the rainy suburb in, well, let's say, Derby. They aren't just actually visiting for a wedding. They are moving the family business to the front yard, and that's a good sign. When the people who build engines for the world's most advanced aircraft decide India is their global brain center, the Viksit Bharat vision stops being a slogan, ladies and gentlemen, on a government poster and actually starts feeling like it has 97,000 pounds of thrust engine behind it. That's the story. Please do let us know what you think about that analogy and, of course, the story itself. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM. Yesterday on Front Page, we broke down what the new IT amendment rules really are. You know what has changed and why the government says that these changes are extremely critical. Today, though, we are going a step further, diving a little deeper maybe. We are looking at the critical side of these amendments, the concerns that experts have already started to raise, the practical challenges of enforcing them, and of course the questions around how these rules could potentially be misused. And of course, to help us unravel all of the loopholes, the vaguenesses, and what this means for platforms and free expression. I'm joined by our brilliant tech journalist, Supreet Kondinya. Welcome to the show, Supreet. How are you doing?
Thank you, Sudhi. Happy to be here.
It has been a deluge of conversation since yesterday.
Right.
Important moment, a momentous one as far as the rules being announced. But first thing that comes to mind, Supreet, is the fact that we are looking at these orders which are not still detailed, or there are not clear guidelines that there has to be a court order for making sure that the content comes down.
Of course.
So does that not just open up a whole new spiral and a tailspin?
Right. It does, Sudhi, because there are two aspects to this, right? So the first problem is, the nature with which the takedown orders are processed, right? There's something called as Section 79.
Yeah.
So this sort of protects your intermediaries, which are social media platforms, that okay, if a user uploads an unlawful content, you're not at fault. The user is. Yeah. But if you don't take it down, if
then you become legally liable.
If you don't respond to a government order and take it down, then you are at fault here and you need to pay for your consequences. But the problem here, Sudhi, is that under Section 79, takedown orders can be given either through a court order or through a officer appointed by the government. And these officers can be anywhere above the rank of a DG police officer.
DIG.
Yeah, DIG police officer. That opens up a lot of problems where experts are saying that a DIG officer sending notices to social media platforms with himself deeming whether a piece of content is unlawful or not might not be the most appropriate.
So then he basically becomes the judge and jury and the executioner.
Exactly. He becomes a judge and the jury. So it has to be processed by the courts itself. But the
Which formally was the case, though.
Exactly. So the section
69.
That's the section 69A. That gives a lot of opportunity for a legal process. There's a lot of procedural things that go on before a content withdrawal order is issued. That happens within the court. But under section 79(3) 1D, so who can issue a takedown under this rule is not just the court, right? It also can be an authorized officer.
Yeah, that opens it up, Supreet, to me, according to me, opens it up to personal biases as well.
Exactly.
I mean, if you didn't like something or your political inclinations or something otherwise, you could say, okay, I don't deem it fit, take it down.
Exactly. But also that the piece of content also needs to be deemed as unlawful. But here's a problem, if you sort of put through some loopholes, dig deep, any piece of content in this day and age can be deemed defamatory. The point is there's no grounds for challenge. Order is issued, through a certain period of time, the content needs to be removed. Now the problem is compounded when that time period is reduced to a mere 3 hours, right? This just means a possibility. Again, I might be a bit oversimplifying the issue here. You have 3 hours, the order is sent, content needs to be removed. Where's the scope for challenge, right, under Section 79?
Although Kanishk yesterday was mentioning the fact that it has come down, challenge has come down from 15 days to 7 days.
Exactly.
But still, the gap as far as 3 hours, 2 hours vis-a-vis 7 days.
Exactly, is significantly reduced. I think that's, to reiterate, that's the problem. Now anyone can issue an order and the authorized officer need not be a judge, need not have the order, need not have any judicial scrutiny also.
I want to talk to you about two things. One was, of course, the fact that what is the general input as far as the legal experts is concerned, because you have spoken to a few people. What is their personal reaction to this? Point one. And point two, if you remember, there was the government reaching out to platforms like X, for that matter, and other platforms when unfortunate railway accidents took place. And the government said that no, it puts the entire aspect of you putting out these things on the platform in bad light.
Exactly.
So bad light could be good light for me.
Exactly. So again, the unlawfulness can be subjective. I think it's not a black and white area, right? So again, to determine whether something is unlawful or not, you have long court sessions and procedures. This can't be done in such a short time. To answer your question, the legal experts that I spoke to, one, are obviously expressing a lot of concern with regards to this, how the orders are sent, who can send the orders. And the core aspect of it is you as the poster, original poster of the content, will not have access to the order for removal, right? Only the intermediary, the social media platform, gets the order for removal. So you as a user, as the poster of the content, You barely have any idea of what has happened behind the scenes. The intermediary gets the order, and within the set time, that needs to be removed.
Do you think there's any political hue to this in terms of the fact that these guidelines have been put out there to make one's case a lot stronger, and the fact that the control becomes a lot better with something like this? You're shrinking the time windows.
Right.
Do you think there's some political motivation to it? Because we all understand political propaganda.
Of course, I mean, there's that one angle if you see it in the positive side of things, right? We've seen a lot what happened in X recently, the social media platform that sent out a lot of sexually explicit images. And with those kind of situations, it obviously makes a whole lot of sense. But given the concerns that people have raised with regards to freedom of speech and how politically critical pieces of content have been removed, how some books, movies are not being released. But here's the thing: if you want to ban a book or a movie, this is an expert who was talking to me yesterday. If you want to ban a book or a movie, it needs to go through a lot of procedure, right? But if you want to ban a social media post, you know how easy it is to do within 3 hours.
Become fickle.
Right. And even though it's still just a social media post, it contains a lot of weightage, because you also brought up how, so there was a series of reports, news articles and images and posts on X that showed, the effects of a stampede in India, and the issues with the Indian railway system, and the railways ordered for these pieces of content to be taken down. Yes, through a certain lens, these might be deemed as unlawful, but it's still information, and it's still a piece of content, it's still news, even though it might be defaming the railways department. It's still news.
Well
right?
said, Super.
Yeah, so there needs to be a lot of nuance. There needs to be a lot of, basically, these are what courts are here for, right? If the railways are offended, sure, you have their point of view. If the poster says no, this is not a ground for the railways to take offense, this is just information.
Point taken.
You have the jury, you have the judicial system to sort of decide who is right or wrong, and whether to let the piece of content be online or not. But now it's just gonna get easier.
Somebody's arbitrary sort of a method that will
even though
come
it's
into
not
the picture.
arbitrary, right?
It is in a way.
Yeah,
it's
in a way, yeah. But ideally, you just want the piece of a committee, a jury, a judge, a court to take.
Something.
Yeah, exactly.
As far as
So
the
that's
squeezing of the window is concerned, technically, Supreet, what do you have to say to that? Because implementation of these guidelines becomes all the more gruesome and tougher.
Exactly. So that's the second aspect of things that experts told me yesterday. Now, if you get a legal order, you need to verify whether it's from the right entity, whether the legal order is legitimate. Then you got to respond to the order, then you got to take down. All of this needs to be done in 3 hours. Now, this puts tremendous amount of pressure for social media platforms, which I don't see it as a problem, because if there's anything unlawful, if there's anything hurting a person, it shouldn't last a second on the internet. But
you and I went berserk when the Grok thing happened. You remember?
Exactly.
I mean, I was personally requesting Mr. Musk. You were doing it.
Exactly.
We were making a huge case out of it.
Exactly. Right. So the time period isn't an issue, but the mechanism with which it's taken down should be, should be streamlined, should be ensured that it does not give room for any misuse. And two, there's another aspect to the amendment which I think you would have discussed with our colleague Kanishk yesterday, is that deepfakes should...
2 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Companies and intermediaries must prevent deepfakes or synthetically generated content to go online, right? But the problem is, do we have good enough infrastructure and tools to determine whether something is deepfake?
Not right now.
Yeah. Whether something is AI generated before it goes out, right? What if someone's trying to legitimately upload some sort of a video that gets wrongly flagged as AI? So it's not in tandem, right? The technology to detect AI and deepfake content isn't as good enough for a government or for a state to come out and tell.
Finally, I need to ask you this. We are taking this right step maybe, but are we taking the right step in the right direction, or we don't even know where we are going?
Exactly. This is a right step, certainly. But the staircase must be built so that the steps, aren't harmful. I don't know if that analogy made sense.
No, it did.
Of course, this is very much a step in the right direction. With AI, people are going haywire, the kind of content they're releasing. But it needs to be streamlined so that parties can implement this rule effectively, right? So the goal is achieved, and of course, it does not curb freedom of speech or expression, does not cater to a certain political agenda, and it needs to be, the removals need to be fair, and the intent needs to be, conveyed in a proper manner.
Fabulous.
But these are early days. Well, of course, I wish to see the government take feedback and the criticism in the right way. They did it with the Sanchar Sathi app.
And that's, of course, the feedback that we expect from you on FrontPage. Thank you so much, Supreet, for all of your insights. We definitely want to know what you feel about this, and we are waiting to put it out there. Please always, as remember, like, share, subscribe, and think AI, think AIM, and think digital safety.
Yep.
For all of you wonderful, brilliant, enterprising entrepreneurs, I'm sure you're going to get this. If you're, of course, running a business in India today, your life is about growth for sure, yes, but it's also more importantly about not getting punched in the face by a spreadsheet while trying to achieve that said growth. So let's just think about it. We are living in a country where the GST rules change so often that they might as well be classified as daily horoscopes. We, of course, have supply chains that break if a truck gets stuck in a monsoon in Bihar. And we have CFOs who are currently one reconciliation error away from a permanent twitch in their left eye. In India, complexity is not some fancy word. It is actually a survival sport and probably an emotion. But NetSuite, yes, the literal heavyweight of mid-market ERP, thinks that this chaos is actually their greatest competitive advantage. They have gone beyond selling you just a cloud dashboard and are now giving you Ask Oracle, which is conversational intelligence, and agentic workflows directly into the bloodline of Indian finance. They are essentially trying to build a brain that doesn't just record your mess, but actually helps you to clean it up. Yes, and they're doing it locally with new data centers in Mumbai and Hyderabad, finally giving Indian founders a reason to stop hugging their office servers for comfort. And of course, joining me today is the man tasked with navigating this agentic shift. I'm very, very happy to bring to you Mr. Amit Saxena, who is the head of NetSuite Asia. Welcome to FrontPage, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me here.
Wonderful, wonderful to have you with us on FrontPage. So Amit, let's start with the diverse, which is a very polite word for this wonderful little beautiful mess as far as Indian business is concerned. Well, just to give you an analogy, founders juggle physical diaries. We've seen that happen. And we've also seen a labyrinth of multi-state GST filings. So the first question, why is this high-speed, high-stress chaos, Amit, actually the perfect habitat for NetSuite? And what is driving this momentum? Is it the startup scaling at light speed, or is it that the legacy family firms finally are realizing that their manual entry systems are ticking time bombs?
Well, first and foremost, there is behind this chaos, there is also immense growth. Right? IMF has just revised the growth for India at over 7%. We saw the economic activity in January pick up. So there is behind the chaos, there's a lot of opportunity.
Sure.
Now, the growth which is being driven, and why we feel that this is the perfect, the perfect storm is what now more and more businesses are wanting is they're wanting a single view of their customer, right? That's the only way in this chaos they can grow. So they don't want to have a view of how their supply chain is doing, as you rightly said, where the truck is stuck, versus where is the finances being stuck today because it's high inflation, high interest rates. So they are looking at a single view of everything. And with AI, again, now, and all our data, NetSuite's data, the customer data, finance data, supply chain is all at the same place. So with AI coming in, all this data can be read that much simpler and easier, and we are able to provide the real-time insights to all the small businesses who earlier could not get these kind of insights and were not able to take advantage of the opportunity which is in front of them.
Wow, so the times are fascinating ahead as far as NetSuite is concerned, Amit. But very quickly, before I actually move on to the fact that, there is this entire thing about the server versus the cloud aspect and that debate, I very quickly had a follow-up on this. You talked about customer synergy. correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the big OEM manufacturers, let's say from the automotive sector or from the other big sectors, sometimes they tell their vendors to go in for a particular ERP. Does that also fit perfectly well as far as your design is concerned, where the customer is driving this kind of streamlining?
Well, it again comes from we are not looking at necessarily this coming from the OEMs to or the customers designing it. What we are looking at is that are we able to provide insights to the especially to the mid-market sector
Okay.
where they can find out what their markets are, who should be they selling to, and to take care of their back end to ensure that everything what you just now said, all the filings, the financial reportings,
Right.
and they are able to do all of that with meaningful insights.
Fabulous. Of course, now back to that server versus cloud debate. The Indian CFOs, Amit, were suspicious of the cloud because, well, they couldn't see the box, to be honest. They liked having something like a server which was around under a desk. It just gave them a little more less separation anxiety. And the question is, now that you're running on local OCI in Mumbai and Hyderabad, what actually changes for the customer, Amit? And is this move about speed and latency, or is it purely just about making the compliance and data residency migraine go away? Because that could be just a logistical aspect.
Well, absolutely. People were wanting to see that server under the desk, right? And they were a lot of times concerned about that. Is that I think it's my data is more secure here
Yeah.
when it is with me
Right.
rather than in the cloud, right? Now, you are not operating to all of those. I would say that you are not operating in isolation today. So even if you have that server under your table, you still need to connect to the internet, right? You will still be interacting with others, which means that you are opening up the exposure to that little box under your table to be attacked.
Yep.
And so hence whether you're doing it in-house or out-house, you need to have immense security. Now, I can very safely say that just our security budgets is far, far, far more than any IT budgets of any of these organizations locally, right? So
Wow.
we definitely can provide a very, very secure environment. Now, as far as this move to Mumbai is concerned, our data centers actually can operate at the same speed from no matter where your data is hosted. So it is more regulatory and compliance related, and also the fact that yes, the data is residing in India. So, for anyone who would want to have the data locally, this is there. But I don't think so it will change the speeds as such.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, that's a very valid point that you made. I believe it's that comfort zone that you need to give to your customers. Finally, it's a change in the mindset, which is what you're driving. And rightly so, because the times definitely require that. Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, Amit, I mean, that's something very special. There is, of course, in the budget as well, there was a huge push as far as that was concerned. So let me just set the context for the viewers first. We are seeing a massive export engine and of course manufacturing clusters exploding in places like Indore, Surat and Coimbatore. And of course these are no longer just small businesses, so don't get me wrong, they are very high volume sophisticated operations. Which brings me to this, Amit, the question. When does a business in a tier 2 city realize that doing fine on tally, for example, has become a trap, which India native verticals like, for example, gold jewelry or pharma distribution become easier to win once you solve for their very weirdly specific scale, and weirdly being the operative word?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, gold jewelry is an interesting one, right? So, gold jewelry manufacturers, for example, need to account for the gold dust
Yep.
which is collected in the air conditioning ducts, right?
Right.
So, that has to be accounted for. So, obviously, all these companies are looking for an ERP solution which is verticalized, which basically has these nuances which are built in, right?
Right.
Also, today you might be operating in India, but tomorrow you're looking at markets outside. You also want to be able to have a solution which is multi-currency. You do not want to be doing all sorts of conversions. You could be having different subsidiaries in different cities within India or outside, and you want still a fairly simplified solution. So when these companies or which in tier 2 and tier 3 cities are now realizing that there is a solution like that available. And of course, with the advent of AI, which has actually made the playing field fairly level for SMBs, they are now looking at venturing out. So outside of that tier two and tier three city, and the traditional smaller systems which you mentioned, which they had been using, is
Yeah.
not able to take them outward.
Well, fascinating that you mentioned that gold dust in the, ventilators and the exhaust systems. Very interesting that NetSuite can even account for those little things and wow, fascinating. Congratulations on that one, Amit. That genuinely
Yeah.
caught my attention. It's very interesting.
Well, we have been able to build that with the help of our local partners here in India. So
Right.
that's the other thing. We
Yeah, I
have
was going to
partners
come to
in,
that. Yeah, that's a
yeah.
huge network that you have. NetSuite has a massive developer army in India building on suite.app.ai. Before I, of course, get into the question, I would love for you, Amit, to weigh in on that and just give us maybe some numbers so that people get a context.
Well, it's hard to put a number there. We basically why we have such a big army of partners is because we are giving our suite platform. So while we have this ERP, which is fairly simple to use, very easy to implement. That's the most important thing, is that we want people to be implementing and going live fast. For a small, medium organization,
Sure.
there's no point of doing something which will give them the returns a year later, right? So they want to see immediate results. And sometimes for their industry, they also want the flexibility to be able to build that little nuance, that little gold dust
Yeah,
checkpoint
correct.
themselves.
Yeah.
And we have the suite platform, which is built within the system, where you can actually go and develop what you want. And it is integrated with our application. So that has allowed a lot of partners in every part of India. We've got partners in Kerala, we've got partners in Rajasthan, for example, who are looking at, hospitality, small hotels. What do they want?
Very
We've got
interesting.
partners who are looking at hospitals in tier two cities. What do they want? So we've got all these partners building on to our platform, uh, allowing, those little nuances being delivered to our customers in tier two, tier three cities.
Amit, very quickly, I genuinely want to request you, if you can be kind enough, maybe give us a use case, in terms of what are the Indian partners building that the global office hasn't even thought of as yet. I mean, would you be able to maybe give us a use case? It'll allow us all to kind of absorb it a lot better.
Yes. So, I will just I will take it simply to your to the gold example you gave.
Right.
Just to take your example from there. And
Mm-hmm.
now we have customer who was initially looking for that what are the markets which they want to operate in, which are the markets where they will get the maximum bang for their buck, return for their dollar
Sure.
invested, right?
Sure.
So they were able to ask our ERP or our system, they were able to put in some inputs and be able to identify who are the markets they should be working for.
Nice.
They then took it to the next step, and they've said that, okay, within India, who are the suppliers who can supply them what they require? Where is the workforce which they can get? What are some of the automation they can do for their workforces, right? And be able to report correctly to the regulators around. And gold, again, being something where there is a lot of regulatory
Yeah.
requirement around where you acquired it, to be able to show the source of funds, as well as where you are exporting it to. So this is a classic one which needs all of these things to be done. So this is a classic use case. Find out where should I be selling, find out who should I be buying from, find out what my workforce automation should look like, and be able to report as per the regulatory requirements. I think this is a very unique uh, case I see in India, which I have not seen in other parts of in the other parts of the world.
Fascinating, Amit. To be honest, that's an entire life cycle that you just shared with us, and it was quite visual as well, just to kind of connect the dots. It's quite exciting, and of course, as always, we see these amazing nuanced developments only in India because, well, जुगाड़ हमसे बेहतर किसको आता है अमित, to be honest.
Absolutely agree with you there.
Then of course, I of course have to share with everyone who's watching. Amit has a very fascinating background. He has of course, he started in hotel management. And most tech leaders, you know, they tend to kind of grow up in more like a office environment, a cubicle, etc. But Amit, on the other hand, has grown up and gained all of his experience dealing with actual guests. Now, having said that, here is the question to you, Amit. What did hospitality teach you about, let's say, SaaS leadership that the pure tech crowd completely misses? And for the founders who are watching, what is that single biggest mistake companies make when they try to AI enable their finance team a little too early?
Okay, well, two parts to your question actually, and they could be related. So, firstly, what that interaction with the guests and has taught me, which
Yeah.
probably tech leaders miss out, right?
Yep.
I do not think technology. I look at a problem and I look at ways to solve them, right? So it's so for me that's the most important thing. I want my so when I'm looking at and you know similar to your second question, what should be what what should be automating or what AI
Right.
should be putting in the finance
Right.
department. I always look at what is it that you are trying to do core. You know, are you trying to solve boredom in your employees because they are so bored doing the same data entry day in day out, right? Are they is that something which what they are looking at? So what is your objective? What do you want to
Right.
do? And once you have figured that out, then you can look at what technology to bring in. And my single advice to the mid market is going to be do not look at AI for the sake of AI. All organizations which have looked at AI for AI have invested a lot of money and not gotten the returns. You need to look at AI which is embedded in your basic workflow. If you're using an ERP, AI should be embedded there,
Sure.
and that should be helping with your day to day operations. So stop thinking technology, start thinking business results, and you know you will be able to decide the right AI strategy for your organization.
Wonderful. Amit, it has been a true pleasure having you with us here on Front Page. Fabulous insights. And I don't think I'll be wrong to say this. NetSuite definitely moving ahead looks like gold dust. No pun intended.
Thank you. It was nice talking to you.
Wonderful speaking with you. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Amit Saxena, who is the head of NetSuite, and he is making sure that they are going at a juggernaut speed in terms of implementation in the mid-market segment. His advice is very clear. Make sure that the objective is clear in terms of why is it that you're wanting to implement a system in place, because automation is a superpower, but automating something which is, well, maybe a mess just gives you a faster mess. So Amit is saying, clean up the mess first, understand it, and then go for it, because NetSuite will then for sure deliver the solution you're looking at. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page. Like, share, subscribe. And always remember, think AI, think AIM, and of course, also always remember that Amit Rajanayak is going to be joining you right now for a fascinating conversation as always. Over to you, Amit.
Yeah, Supreet, welcome to the show. Happy to have you here. And by the way, there's a very good news today that's happening. You're seeing a new format of our, there's a design revamp into how front page is shown, and also the AI talk show that is happening, right? So there's a complete revamp of design, and the timing couldn't have been perfect.
Yep, of course.
And again, once again, welcome to the show. Happy to have you here.
Yep, happy
after
to be
our
here.
New York trip, and now we are
Right,
back in Bangalore. So yeah, so Supreet, you were so before you stepped into tech journalism, you studied design yourself, right?
A little bit.
Little bit. And I remember during our interviews, like we were talking about how do we revamp our websites, how do we revamp our apps, and you had some brilliant ideas. And today I think this episode is perfect. So there's complete revamp of how the things are shown here.
Of course.
Yeah, and are you liking the design?
Yep, it's pretty fun. It's it's pretty unique.
Unique,
I hope
right?
our audience also loves it the same way that we do.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's good that you bring it up because today, with the time that it takes for people to build prototypes,
Correct.
right? I think Figma, or probably the only it's the de facto UX design tool that's out there. Its role is getting more and more important.
Correct.
And even though a lot of builders and developers argue that I can just take a prompt and build a prototype of of it in like minutes using your vibe coding platforms.
Got it.
But the entire design process,
Correct.
right? I'm not just talking about the front end, the aesthetics and the UI, but the user experience also is going to be super critical, right? Your
Correct.
people are dealing with new technologies like AI,
Correct.
new workflows. So
Correct.
Figma is this tool to sort of map all of your user journeys, prototype, and sort of have a lot of your team come in and drop feedback, have a unique design system so that the language is seamless and everything just works, right?
Right.
Because there's one layer where your product looks good,
Got
then
it.
the other layer is where your product is functional,
Got it.
but the topmost layer is your product needs to be usable.
Got
I
it.
think you can get to the first two layers on like your vibe coding tools, but
Got it.
the usability factor is what can be truly achieved with just tools like Figma.
Got it.
And they've been doing a lot of work over the last few months with AI.
Got it.
A lot of people wondered how Figma would adapt to today's AI era. They've got Figma Make.
Correct.
You can edit your assets using just prompts, and of course the big reveal, if I should just drop what we're talking
Yes,
about,
yes.
I'd let you do the honors.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Figma, I think recently launched a vectorized image,
that's-
which is like an AI tool which can convert raster images, sketches,
exactly.
textures, and hand-drawn letters into fully, editable vectors.
Vectors, yep.
And the best part is all happens in one click.
One click, exactly. And this is, that's huge news for designers, because otherwise they'd have to rely on third-party plugins.
Correct.
Or verse just manually draw over images to create vectors.
Got
Or
it.
just go to a competitor's product that they don't like, that they've been avoiding using the product, and then they've just come to Figma. They wouldn't want to go back to that.
Got it.
But I think Vectorize now does this crucial job of just converting any image into vectors, and that gives designers a lot of controls.
Got it.
Right? Because in this day and age, you have a lot of inspirations for your design. Just grab an image,
Correct.
grab an asset. You can vectorize it using Figma, change the color, just change the outline. You just have a free hand at what you can do with it. So I think that's been a huge update, and I think many designers that I've seen on social media are really excited by it.
Got it.
And of course it also works really well
Got it.
in the first impressions. But yeah, Pamit, I think better than us discussing, let's call
Yeah.
the folks from Figma themselves, and we have a very special person joining us today.
Yeah.
I'll let you do
That's
the
a
intro.
surprise for everyone, all of our viewers as well. So yeah, before I call the guest, I just want to know, are there, like as a designer, I feel like everybody is a designer these days. Like,
Right.
what is the blurring line with all of these AI tools coming in? How do you, like, if everyone's a designer, who is a designer anymore? Like,
Exactly. So I'd beg to differ. I don't think everybody is a designer, because everybody would have this judgment of what looks like a well-designed product, but to design it is making it usable, right? Me and you can make an app functional
Got it.
using your vibe coding tools, but to make it usable,
Got
something
it.
that sustains the entire product life cycle,
Absolutely.
go from accomplishing a task from 0 to 1 without a lot of errors.
Got it.
That is the skill that a designer sort of brings, and of course you have tools like Figma sort of aiding it. So
Got
that's
it.
the
Got it.
moat that designers continue to have. But of course, we'll have our guest from Figma
okay.
enlighten us more.
So yeah, we have Michelle joining us from Australia, Sydney, all the way there. Hi Michelle, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm on mute, but I'm not now. So yeah, I'm very excited to be here. This is super cool. Yes, it's Sydney is 5:30 in
Got
the
it.
afternoon, so fun times.
Understood. I mean, amazing development that has happened. Figma has launched vectorized images. Can you, if someone is watching us for the first time, just want to understand, can you break it down and simplify for them in terms of how this thing works, in terms of for someone like, is this like just convenience, or does this alter how creative assets move into production systems? We were just having this conversation. Yeah.
Of course, and by the way, thanks for having me in the middle of the conversation. This is great. Look, in plain terms, right? Vectorize, very simple, takes an image, a drawing, a reference, a photo, a logo, right?
Yes.
And it will turn that into an editable vector right inside of Figma with one click. And you get that something editable, which is really important. But why does that really matter? Like you were asking, what's the point, right?
Yeah.
So there's a couple of reasons. First, we launched Figma Draw a little while ago because we want to have creatives really do their creative work inside of Figma. And it wasn't like, Figma design was the main tool initially, right? So illustration, lettering, expressive stuff like vectors weren't really the focus, right? But now you can sketch, you can draw, you can bring in any reference, and you can just convert it right away inside of Figma without ever leaving the canvas, right? You can keep editing there, you can keep perfecting it there, refining it, right? Moving it forward. And second, like you were saying, what about the practical stuff, right?
Yes.
So if I want to have all my icons exported, I can do that. Maybe I had some vector, that I didn't have the vector version of it. Maybe you have a client who doesn't understand what a vector is and they send you a JPEG of their file.
Absolutely.
I've had a client send me a Word doc of my file. I mean, random stuff happens. You get that raster file from your vendor. You can bring it out and convert it, and less context switching, right?
Got it.
We want more people doing the actual creative work.
Understood.
So that's the goal, and this is what these kind of tools are here to help.
Right.
Got it.
Michelle, I think I'd like to jump in.
Yeah,
so
sure,
me and Amit were just discussing the struggles that Vectorize feature brings an end to, for the UX folks. Now, of course, Figma has been the de facto tool for UX designers since probably quite a long time now. And Michelle, what's the struggle that Vectorize puts an end to, with just vectorizing anything in just one click?
Yeah, it's a great question, guys. But I mean, again, we think we already have the tool to get you started from zero, right? To get you started from nothing, and where you can draw anything. And we see a lot of people doing logos. I've left many other tools from the past in the past, and I do all my logos and all my branding and all my stuff in Figma. But this is solving a need that we felt like it really is something. How do I take a picture of a texture and bring it in? How do I, find a drawing as an inspiration and bring it in, right? And I think it might be better actually to show you guys and play with it a little bit.
Of
I
course.
think there's some
Wonderful.
fun stuff we can do there. Yeah.
I think, Michelle, you can share your screen. And I think our producer is ready with it. Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to click through here whenever you guys are ready.
Right. Michelle, also you did mention the importance of Vectorize and what it really does. But if you could just explain to our audience, what was the exact workflow that designers would use before Vectorize was a thing? Whether was it just installing a lot more plugins to vectorize images or just manual drawing? So if you could just the struggle that they faced, if you could just illustrate that better so that we can really pin down the impact of the tool that's come in.
You nailed it, right? So you either needed a plugin, something that maybe costs money sometimes depending on the plugin, right? Maybe you have to go try to find other tools externally, or literally just sit there and try to learn how to redraw stuff on top of the drawing that you already have. The challenge is the thing that you were showing before, like the Figma logo that you have here, which by the way is the old logo.
You can just show us.
Yeah, we can show the
No worries. I think the one that you had with blooming is really interesting because it had texture, right? The Figma logo doesn't have texture, so this one is really easy. And look, before, in the old times with this old Figma logo that I had here, right? All I had, if I needed to use this in a slide or something different, is remove background. I would click this, wait a couple of seconds here, maybe 15, 20 seconds. You have the background removed, which is great. But although it looks great in small screens, if you start moving this to a big thing, you start losing that quality, which is the problem with raster images, right? I don't want to redraw it. You could go in here, use Figma draw everything on top of it, find that refining tool, but let's make it easier for our, us to be able to have time to do the work that actually matters, right? And so with this one, we click in here, we have the new Figma logo, we click on Vectorize. Again, same amount of time, about 15 to 20 seconds. It thinks a little, and then you're gonna have fully editable. I can change any of the points, right? I can change anything here on my layers. I can change the colors. I shouldn't. The brand team is going to call me and say, don't do that. I'm not. This is not the official anything. But yeah, look, it allows me to do all of that. It also allows me to do a lot more with just now that I have the file, I can do whatever with resizing it and making it big or small at any time to do whatever I want without losing any of the, the quality of the what's imported in here. One more thing, I love one more things. What if it's something more complex? Logos are a little bit more simple, right? This has more texture. I found this image in Unsplash, which I don't know if you guys use, but again, I think it's really fun. And I thought about like, can it get all that nuance? There's a tiny little, there's a small line in the middle. There's some shadows and things which are harder to redraw, right? So what I did is I'm going to duplicate it first because I'm going to do some fun stuff for you guys. I'm going to vectorize the first one. Once this first one has vectorized, again, we're going to have access to change the colors to match our branding. Our branding is more yellow than this. So we can go like, no, that's not the right color, Michelle. Click it in, go there, make it more yellow than that, right? To match the brand. There you go. We can do something with that. We can make it this more black, right? So it goes a little bit closer to what you guys have. Full control of the shadow. If we didn't want the shadow because we have the black now, we can go in there and change it, remove it, do whatever we want with that too. But what if I wanted to do a set? So now we brought that in here. We click on edit with prompt. That's where the tool really shines. It's this idea of the platform, the connectivity of the things, right? So you started from a vector, from an image, you made it into a vector. I duplicated it. Now I want this character needs to be playing cricket. Just for you guys.
We love cricket. Yeah.
I imagine. Look, I visit BLR before, and I imagine you guys are going to be more excited if he's not playing volleyball.
Absolutely.
So again, we get an example. Oh no, this one didn't want to do it. So I have the example here. I've generated the original one. I did basketball for me, right? And then I vectorized the basketball, changed the colors. And then I did the cricket one, and I vectorized it too, so we can change the shirt to black. I think the uniform is a little darker in cricket. It's not as bright as the sport ones, right? So again, access to everything, full control over everything, right? All the details, whatever you're trying to capture, you can do it here with this. So hopefully it helps paint the picture of what you can do with the tool.
Yeah, I was just checking how many times you were clicking. So I think it's just one click everywhere. Like
it's one click every time. Yeah. Click.
Vectorize.
Say vectorize, that's it.
That's amazing. One click, vectorize. Click, vectorize.
Of course. It's a lot of control with just one click that you're getting.
So looks amazing. Yeah. I think that was a brilliant demo for our viewers there. Thank you, Michelle, for showing that. Back to our conversation, the big question, Supreet, we've been asking. You have developed an app on your auto ride using the Replit, which is very interesting. I saw that app as well. You're using it in your editorial team as well. And even I have built a research tool using Lovable. But very different. We were having this conversation earlier as well. But consistency is because whatever I built, it's same UI UX for almost all your Lovable, Replit, you name it, Emergent. So the backend, it all looks the same. So what are your thoughts on, if AI can build apps this fast, what becomes the role of a designer? And I'll want Michelle's input on this as well.
Of course.
Yeah. Look, I think for us, for Figma, right, we focus on the entire product design development workflow, right? So we go from beginning to the end, from idea to production, right? And we see, in our latest research, we actually found that all the companies that we've talked to, actually 82% of companies that we talked to are looking for more designers. We need more people with taste, more people with craft, more people that can translate, the real intent, the real needs of the user, right? To the actual production thing. Getting to something faster is not the end goal, right? Yes, we want to have fast. We want to do one click and get to vectorize. I agree, right? But the designer that understands which colors are going to go together here, the designer that's going to understand how to ship that product that you said, like that app that you said, what does it mean to have, a moto pop up in this way? Do we have these kind of buttons together? Do they really work, right? That idea, it's not going to be replaced. We actually think it's going to be increased, right? So 91% of designers that we talk to, they say the AI tools improve the quality of their designs and they can move quickly. But again, we see a lot of the research that we have. Our latest research from Figma says 82% of organizations need more designers. We need more of us to understand this stuff.
Right, right.
Amazing.
And also, Michelle, I just had another question. Of course, building design systems, as I was telling Amit, is a huge deal for any production-ready application that you can sort of push. And how does Vectorize sit in that aspect? And do you think it's going to speed up a designer's job of building a design system, or sort of getting more inspirations and just keep enhancing it to sort of improve the look of the brand assets and stuff? So how do you see Vectorize increase the pace of building a design system today?
Yeah, no, totally. Look, I think Vectorize, again, focuses on this idea of these organic hand-drawn elements, the illustrations, the textures, right? Getting all of that as a vector. If your system, a lot of systems depend on illustrations for branding. You know, we've seen a big shift out of photography and a lot of like vector illustration in our products, right? And so this allows for us to have that, right? To have this component of the design system, to scale that across every surface. The other thing you have to think about when you talk about design systems in Figma is that it goes with you, you know, not only from design, but all the way to your slides, to your Fig Jam, and also to Buzz, right? So if you're shipping something out to social, the same design system is still there. The same components, the same illustrations. You can now have a library of illustrations, right? All these vectorized images inside your design system to be able to share all of that happening inside of Figma on the same canvas, right? It's just a big collaboration tool to allow you to have this output that is never isolated. It's always part of this shared language, this shared context that we have.
Right. Just sort of brings a new facet to the entire design system.
Absolutely. I think every enterprise and businesses need to think from design first in terms of how the branding looks and all of that. And leading to that, right, we were just talking about homogenization, right? So that is like the risk layer there. So if AI tools often lead to, you know, that aesthetic sameness.
Exactly, right.
If all the company starts looking like same.
Right.
I think that is what Figma brings in terms of each company has its own design values, and, you know, I think everybody has to think from that perspective, which is like, I'm a big fan of that. So my question is, again, Michelle, does Vectorize help, you know, preserve uniqueness, or are we entering an era where AI-assisted design risk flattening the originality bit? And also, how do we prevent AI default style from taking over the internet?
I mean, this is exactly what something like this is almost made to prevent, right?
Yes.
It's one of the reasons we love Vectorize, is the idea of things looking the same. Like, you can make a hand-drawn thing. My hand-drawn thing is never going to be the same as yours.
Absolutely.
Right? The different brushes, the different strokes, the way you think about how these things, you know, look visually on a sketch or a drawing or something to share, right? That has a lot of more handcrafted thing, which again, it loses that AI default aesthetic that you're talking about, right? We've seen that shift. Again, we've seen a lot of product just before this whole AI's, you know, can code for you craze. We've seen a lot of products, including that illustration. We're bringing more of that. We're going this other direction, right? We're bringing, you know, maybe you had something of an idea on paper. Maybe you did a hand-drawn mark or a photograph or whatever, a texture. Just something to bring character and personality, right? And make it more human, but also keeping that usable, you know, side of it, making it easy for us to bring, you know, the humanity, the artistry into this kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, we don't want. This is not generating any image.
Yes.
Someone, the person that is vectorizing this is the artist that is vectorizing this. Hand draw these flowers and then is choosing to color it and find, you know, the new version of it that they want, right?
Absolutely.
That's what we're doing here. We're allowing this creative person, you know, to really expand their output, you know, bring it to a scale, bring it outward from just one thing and maybe have 10 versions of it if they wanted. You know?
Absolutely. Very rightly put, Michelle. Thank you for that. One final question before we let you go. Michelle, you've worked at Atlassian, Shopify, Bookings.com, massive systems there. So if you look at AI right now, right? So is the real leverage in, you know, like you've already mentioned, generating faster, right? Or in structuring better systems around what gets generated, and where should serious designers place their bets over the next 5 years?
Yeah. Now, this is a great question. And,
Yeah.
and again, AI is 100% an accelerator, right? It's an accelerator for us. It's an accelerator for Figma. It's an accelerator for design, right? Design does not live inside of prompts. Design lives inside our heads. We have to bring it out into the canvas. We have to bring it out so we can do more of this kind of stuff, right? And so I see us really, it's almost like the shift from cloud and mobile, you know, like it's a big shift. Before, long time ago, I'm old, guys. We used to do, you know, like design was physical and by hand, right? And then it became a digital design, right? This is a new era where, you know, the new tools are going to help us deliver a lot more, right? And again, the usage and the adoption of these new technologies will power design, but we have to train designs to believe in this and to accept that, you know, the core of the design thinking and being adaptive, being inclusive, right? Bringing research, like having foundation for everything, that doesn't change.
Got it.
That doesn't go away,
Got
right?
it.
What goes away is we can make it faster, but making it faster without knowing if it's the right thing doesn't help us. So your job is to still know if it's the right thing to do and what are we building and where do we want to go.
Got it.
And then you go to the tool and we get you there faster.
Got it. Got it. Perfect. I think Michelle, just before I let you go, I'm really good at asking last questions.
Of course.
Am I? So yeah. So you're talking about, you know, your visit to Bangalore, and you know we are based out of Bangalore and India, right? So one of the things about Indian designers, you know, it's the largest community here. So I just want to address to all the designers and viewers who are watching from India, right? So one of the most used feature is vectorize. Across, you can talk to any companies, they start with that. So I would like you to give a final message to all of the viewers who are watching this, and if there are any data point from Figma in terms of from India related, that would be great if you can share those details. Like in India, like what is the most used thing that it's a go-to designer tool? Yeah.
Well, I was going to make a joke first that when I went there, you guys said that Chiki is an Indian thing, and I 100% believe it's a Brazilian thing called Pedro. But again, look, we're not going to compete on that, right?
Okay.
We can share it. Besides that, you know, we're a global company, right? We're a global community. We have all these friends of Figma, right?
Yes.
So what I really know is last year we did an India launch.
Yes.
And you guys rocked it. It was the biggest launch we ever had. It was amazing. We didn't have vectorized back then. I'm pretty sure if we go back again, or if we do a Friends of Figma or something like that, being able to show this on stage to the amount of people that were in that event, that would be just amazing.
Got it.
So I'm expecting invitations. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm just, you know, my mail, my email is open.
Okay.
Jokes aside, no, I think great tool, great place to start. It helps you, again, get to editable fast. Something that we can, you know, we're seeing it more and more, right? That we want to get you close to an editable thing. If you start in Figma Make, you can now paste your Figma Make into Figma Design and edit the layers. This is similar, right? It's that same idea. You know, whatever you're starting, whatever we're building, whatever we're creating, make it go back and make it be editable, make it be reusable, so we can expand and collaborate. Because the goal is not to end there, right? That image with the recolor. The goal is now I send this file to, you know, one of you, and you join me on the file where like, oh, this color goes here, that thing goes there. That collaboration, that is the core.
Got it.
So that's for me the key feature, always.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, thank you, Michelle, for your time. Really had fun having this conversation. Supreet, any final thought before we let Michelle go? I don't want to leave him because I can have this conversation.
No, I think one thing I'd like to say, Michelle, is based on the conversations I've had, you know, with designers and developers, everybody were anticipating how Figma would, you know, iterate and bring new features in today's AI era. And I think vectorize is not something that many people saw coming. You know, they were pleasantly surprised seeing how, you know, everybody is just focused on the big picture, right? We want to let you build an app from a single prompt. And I think the beauty of Figma has been that you can just get to these nitty-gritty details as a designer, just modify it quickly, just put the thought or the craftsmanship in your head onto your screen. I think vectorizes this huge leap, in terms of that. And I think the designers were pleasantly surprised, and I think I can tell Michelle, I think the next time we're here for a conversation, I'd be really excited to see what Figma is up to. And the best part is, I don't think I can predict what Figma would be up to. I think it's just very nuanced, the kind of features that they're putting.
Yeah, I think Michelle can give us that roadmap. Like,
I was gonna say I can't give you the roadmap, but you guys can, right? Because we kind of love solving the user needs. So if you're finding problems like this, you know what I mean? Like, look, why do we have Figma slides? Because people like me were using a bunch of frames next to each other to present as a prototype.
Right.
And then we saw that repeated, use case happening, right? Figma Draw, the same thing. We saw a lot of brand people using Figma to draw stuff inside of Figma. We're like, hey, we should have a product. So I can't tell you the roadmap, but
of course.
I'm pretty sure
got it.
talk to everyone there, you will see where we're going next, because we're listening.
Absolutely. Michelle, it was a great time, and again, thank you so much for taking your time out and being on this show. We would definitely come back to you time and again, and whenever we have
a new release from
question
Figma,
and whenever there is new development from Figma, obviously. We're super excited to have you again back on the show. So yeah, all the best, and like we mentioned, I think just one click, vectorize, and you're easy to unleash your creativity. Thank you, Michelle, for your time. Lovely having you on the show.
Right.
Yeah, that was a wonderful conversation. Like,
yeah, I think I've just pulled up an old piece that I've written. I think we were discussing about vibe coding and all of that. This designer once told me, claiming vibe coding tools replaces Figma is like an entirely fundamental misunderstanding of the tool. I think we've seen one example with Vectorize here, and of course, Michelle also showed us how the feature works. So yeah, Amit, I think it'll be really exciting to see. And I think you also have covered Figma in the past based on their India developments, and I think if you could just shed some light to our audience.
So Figma is hiring in India. So they're in Bangalore. They recently opened their office in Bangalore, which is again very closer to where we are. So amazing stuff. So they're hiring and they're working on a lot of these AI tools, is what I've heard. Like we spoke about Figma Make, very brilliant feature. Like they're trying to, in fact, it is also coming to the last time when I spoke to the country head, he mentioned about bringing Figma to where the AI systems are.
Exactly.
So that is also a brilliant feature in terms of, like acceleration is there in terms of how do you use this tech to, unleash your creativity, your design, and all of that. And at the same time, that scalability of, your brand, your...
Exactly.
So that is something amazing. Figma is again available on ChatGPT and...
Yep, of course. I think that's a brilliant point. I think in terms of that cohesiveness in the ecosystem, I think even when I was using Replit, you can just upload a Figma file. So I think it's one, thought that we could leave our audience away with is just don't view it like Figma as a competition to your vibe coding tools. It's just a complementary tool.
Absolutely.
Figma has its own place, its own role, and of course they're iterating quickly, bringing new features. And then as you mentioned, me and you have used Replit, but I think if those apps go to production and it can be scaled to like 10,000 users, I don't think they'll be able to appreciate. And I think that role is what Figma sort of allows you as a designer to sort of do.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been experimenting with all of these vibe coding tools on an everyday basis in terms of easing our work. So I think the design element would bring... It's like it's your product. Like it's your design thinking. It's your own way of how people experience the platform.
And just the users, right? I think experiment is the key word, right? We use it as an experiment, but you design for the user, right? I think the people's idea of design is that okay, this looks good, which is great for me and you, but then you go out there, interact with users, ask them what they exactly need from the app. Is there problems being solved, or is there a problem in the first place? Right?
Don't create a problem.
Exactly. Is there a problem in the first place? How do they want it?
Correct.
Like if you release an app and it ends up a lot of regional people using it, but you didn't intend them to use it, then you failed at user research. I think all of those things is what sort of Figma synthesizes into one sort of a dashboard, on a platform.
Correct.
So we're living in it.
And we are coming back to our revamped design and
of
UI
course.
UX for our viewers there. I think I'm not sure if they will like it, but this is what AIM stands for. This is our design.
Of course, it's
And
A/B
timing,
testing.
timing could not have been perfect, like Michelle's inputs, and I think we are going to give you more experience, like a living room kind of conversations. So any feedback, any comments, what would you like to hear? Please put that on the comments. We would definitely try and get you those perspectives and insights and make everyone's life easier.
Of course.
I mean, yeah, one
Audience
is
is
you
key.
vibe is fine, vibe coding is fine. You also need to design code.
Exactly, you just need to design your
Yeah.
user flows. I think that's the key takeaway that all three of us,
Yes.
the two of us learned from.
Yes, definitely.
Michelle
I learned a
from
lot
Figma.
from this conversation.
Of course,
like-
I hope all of you all
Yeah.
had a wonderful time listening to Michelle. So we're
Yeah.
excited to bring more such conversations. As Amit mentioned, please
Yeah.
do let us know your thoughts, feedback, or anything. If you just want to drop in your inputs or insights on the comment box, it's all yours.
Yep.
So yeah, I think
we are good to
we're
go.
good to
I
go.
think that's about it. So this is your AI talk show. Thank you for watching this, and we would be back with more guests and speakers and experts. This is your daily AI and tech dialogues that's going to happen, which will bring you ground level conversation with leaders, execs, and everyone in the ecosystem. So just watch out for this space because more exciting thing is coming. We're just locked in, we're experimenting with our design and all of that. But again, once again, thank you, and always remember, think AI,
think AI,
think vectorize.
think Figma.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.